Everyone, welcome to the second episode of Calling the Audible. I'm Manuel Arroy, joined by my good friend Jerome Ovington. Jerome, how are you? How are we feeling in this week two of FBF?
Doing great. Excited to get this thing going again for week two. Gonna have a lot of interesting matchups and a lot of interesting things to discuss today.
Yes, so we have a charged show today, but before we start, just a reminder for everyone, make sure that you have a number on your shirt, not a drawn on number, a real number. Make sure you have the right colored shirt because now we don't give any more chances for that. You won't have your game played, so make sure you have your shirts of the right color and the number on it too. Also, quick reminder to get your game played for the playoffs, and the team picture should be wrapping up this week. So if all your team can be there, that would be great to get everyone on the team pictures.
Okay.
So let's jump right into the women's division. Jerome, when we look at the women's division, is there a team that stands out defensively? You think would have the best defense in the division?
Yeah, of course. When we look at defenses and overall best teams, we always have to look at Sub-Zero. But I wanted to take a closer look at Vortex,
Yes.
who I think have been absolutely killing it defensively so far. Obviously, they haven't played the greatest of teams, but they have the leading current leading defensive player in Virginie Aubry-Menor, who's already has 5 picks through 2 games. And there's also the great defensive player in Lauriane Beauchamp also. And I think the combination of these two defensive players could perhaps cause some troubles, a lot of troubles to other teams, but especially troubles to Sub-Zero when these two teams face.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I see that they have six pass defended through 2 games, so they're getting their hands on a lot of balls. They're disrupting the other offenses plays, and that's a key thing when you have to face Sub Zero, who's an offense that's really organized. They have their plays, they run it very well. So you're gonna have to contest those plays there and make sure that you give Sub Zero a challenge, not let Sarah Parker just drive the field effortlessly like she usually does. But I agree. Vortex is looking very good. Virginie Aubry-Menard, 5 picks in 2 games. That's very impressive. If she keeps this up, she might break some records, but that's a tall task ahead for her. But I like it. Is there another team maybe that stands out to you? Maybe a Red Nation that always had a good defense throughout the
Yeah,
past seasons?
I think we have to look at Red Nation as well. Obviously, Girardine Cabio-Abante, great performance in their only game they've played so
Yeah.
far with 2 interceptions and 2 PDs. But it's the complete roster of very solid defensive players. Obviously, Emma Townsend-Naslin, Ellen Beckles, and Rachel Valliere, who is making her comeback this season. I think this team has the depth and the athletic ability to cause a lot of disruption defensively going forward.
No, I definitely agree. And even though they only played 1 game, it was a tight affair against Wolfpack September 5th, but only allowing 2 scores and one point convert is very good. It's very promising for that Red Nation team. They're gonna have a good matchup tonight. Well, it's gonna be yesterday for you guys looking at the podcast, but they're facing against Brut on Thursday in Laval. So that's again another great matchup and a good test for that Red Nation team. See what they can do. Hopefully, they can score a little bit more points because that can come and bite them later in the year if you're not able to score points, even though your defense is good. Still need that production from your offense. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah,
and to add
go ahead.
to that, I think tonight is going to be a very big test for them because Brut have a really good offense. Laurence Pobriand, Annabelle Chevrier, and Stéphanie Bouri-Zanetti are a great trio of receivers. It's really hard to cover them, and if they're able to kind of shut this offense down, then we know that we'll be looking at a legit contender this season.
No, definitely. And when we segue into that, do you think there's which team has the best team in dethroning Sub-Zero from their status as the best female team in FPF. You think there's a chance that a team like Vortex can maybe step up, or maybe Brut, when we look at the roster, even though they lost the first game 39-0. Not quite sure who was there, what happened, but Brut is always a squad that I'm looking. Me personally, with the quarterback Maud Lacasse, who's improving every season and has a very very good arm and could definitely go score for score with Sarah Parker, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I think we're looking at more parity in this division at the top now. And it starts with obviously Vortex, we've already mentioned, but the finals that they had in spring, you know, for a while, it looked like Cayenne was going to win that one. Obviously, now they've changed their name to Vortex, but we can see that, you know, teams are catching up to Sarah Parker and Sub-Zero, and I think it's going to be kind of a three-horse race in this between Sub-Zero, Vortex, and excuse me, Brut.
Yeah, maybe Red Nation and Mercenaries can sneak into that conversation, but it's going to be a tall task for them since we know how these team plays, and you can't really afford to make mistakes against Sarah Parker or a Vortex team, because they're going to make you pay definitely if you let them the chance. So yes, the women's season is just starting. Not a lot of games played, but definitely keeping an eye on the race to the top. See who's going to be able to, if someone is going to be able to dethrone Sub-Zero. I think that that Red Nation game is going to be interesting, and that Vortex game also is going to tell a lot for the future of this season. So Jerome, let's move on to the co-ed tier 2 now. And looking at co-ed tier 2, let me just bring it up. Yes, so I see there's a lot of rushing QBs in co-ed tier 2. It's kind of normal because most of the time newer quarterbacks or newer teams often rely on the run, since the passing game is a little bit harder and it's difficult to complete some passes, go through some plays. So you got many quarterbacks that like to run, and I was just wondering, do you think that which QB has the best, like, how can I say it, has the best running ability in the division?
Look, there are a lot of very athletic running backs in co-ed too. It's kind of been the meta in these lower co-ed divisions, having a QB who's able to extend plays with their feet. To me, the most surprising, well, it's not necessarily surprising because we know how talented he is, but Sanders Armand has been running at a high clip and very efficiently as well. Like, he's averaging 16 yards per run, which is incredible. 163 yards in 2 games, and he's also doing it like through the air as well. Like, it's lower amount of yards, but he's able to find the end zone and not commit too many turnovers throwing the ball, which is huge for his no pun intended team. I look at other Russian QBs, and obviously Alexander Solipsky. We know what he is. He's probably one of the fastest players in all of FPF. He's really improved. We've talked about him a couple times before, but his rushing ability is really hard to stop from opposing rushers. Also, a bit of a newer name in FPF is Eric Carpenzano,
Yes.
who hasn't played much QB so far, but 133 yards in 2 games is also a great amount of rushing yards, but he's been struggling a bit more finding the end zone through the air. I think, as new QBs often do, they rely on their legs too much, which is something that we'll have to monitor for Carpenzano going forward.
Yeah, you're right. It's his first season full time, I think, as QB. He played couple games, but I don't think he started. Maybe just went in and threw a couple passes. But it's a great challenge for Eric. And so far, yes, the rushing has been good, but the passing has been a little bit difficult. throwing 2 interception in his first game against no pun intended. So yeah, but the second game was promising against Hot Wings with 4 TDs and 1 interception, and he was also able to reduce the sacks, going from 3 sacks to 1 sack. So if you take 1 sack and throw 1 pick, I think you're still in the game, and it's not errors that can cost you the games necessarily. So I like what I see from the running quarterbacks. I find it surprising that Sanders is at the top there, but at the same time,
Why?
I don't know.
Why is it
Maybe
surprising?
I thought he was gonna pass the ball more, but hey, he's starting. It's a new team. He joined that team, so we're gonna see what happens there. But 163 yards in two games rushing
It's a lot.
is pretty impressive for him. So yeah, in the 1-1 teams in co-ed 2, um, which team do you think is gonna are gonna fall below that 500 win loss ratio?
Yeah, we'll look at Chef Bounty first of all.
Yeah,
I think it's a really interesting team with a lot of new players. Um, but QB Guillaume Girard has been, really good, and it's a bit of a different approach to this team. I think they're not throwing the ball like that far downfield. He's only averaging 8 yards per pass, but that completion percentage is really high. They're not scoring a ton, but they're not allowing a ton. And I feel like they're slowing the game down, letting their defense do most of the work. And I see a lot of talent on this team, starting with Dimitri Melsbach, who is, we've seen him play. I've played with him before. Very, very athletic, very tall, very physical. And also Charles Fortin, who is also one of the most athletic players in Co-Ed 2. Sébastien Simon, also very, very good player. I think they have really good male players, and they're going to have positive matchups throughout the season. So I expect this team to end above 500, in my opinion. Going to we'll go with at least we tried again.
yeah.
And I know they're going to try again this season. I think it was a bit tougher last season for them, and QB Daryl Dorsley has had his struggles so far. A huge loss, 38-6 versus the Knicks. Dorsley doesn't look that comfortable yet at the quarterback position, but he has a talented rusher with Jimmy Janvier being the number one option there. I think they're on very good defense, but unfortunately they're going to fall a bit short of 500, maybe 4-6. I wouldn't be surprised either with them finishing 5-5 or 3-7. Next up, we'll go with Back That Pass Up, who, have been good. Jason Rossi, maybe a bit too good for Co-Ed 2. Just having him at the QB position, I think, is going to be huge for this team. New players, new chemistry to be built. I see this team ending up above 500 for sure. Do you want to do the next ones?
Sure, of course.
Following through?
Let's do it. But I agree with you on in with back that pass up. I think having an experienced quarterback like Jason Rossi behind center is very big, and also he has that connection with Chris Brockwell that
Oh yeah,
goes on for a few years. So they're definitely gonna have a lot of success, I think, in that division. Even though if they lost one game, I could see them going maybe 7-3, losing just 2 more games
yeah,
and having a good run. That's a team that last season was up there and was very good. So I see them doing great this season. Then we have tight ends. It's a team that I'm not too familiar with. Looking at the players, I'm not quite sure. I don't know them as much, but they won a convincing game against Hot Wings. I know that Hot Wings isn't the best team, but they lost big to punt intended. So I think looking at their schedule, kind of looks tough. So I'll go under
yeah.
500, maybe 3-7, something like this. But that's just because I don't really know them. We're gonna know them throughout the season. Hopefully, I can see them play once or twice this season and learn more from them. But so far, 1-1. Let's see where this goes. And after that, we have Mean Machines. That's a team. Do we know them, these guys?
Yeah, a bit, but not. They haven't been in the league that long.
Okay, so yeah, once
A
again,
lot of them have just started.
yeah, exactly. So it's a little bit tougher when you got new players, but that team uh went toe to toe against no pun intended, finishing 42-34. So a lot of promising thing there. Being able to score 34 points on no pun intended, which is very good. So I think that they'll be fine. I'll put them at 500 just there, just because I think that they have tough matchups, but they also have matchups that they can definitely win. And that game against no pun intended is a good sign, being able to score 34 points. Just have to tighten up that defense, but that's something that they can work on throughout the season. And the last one is you have Les Ranceurs. So looking at Les Ranceurs, once again, a
Great
team that
name.
I'm not, I love the name. It's a team that I'm also not that familiar with, but went in a great game. They won a great game against La Sec 27-24, and that's promising also. But when I look at their schedule, at least we try again, back that pass up. Who's gonna carry the boats? Man, that's difficult games there
It's
for
hard.
them. But that being said, um, I like what I see so far. The first game I don't really take it into account, but I think that Les Ranceurs can go 6-4 in my opinion, just based on
Yeah,
that close game against La Secte. They're going to be able to win those games, in my opinion. So
yeah,
at least win 5 more games.
and yes, and one player to watch out for on the team is definitely Eric Nance, who I think has the potential to move up divisions and be playing in those higher tiers.
Definitely, definitely. That's a great point, Jerome, because through 2 games, he's got 11 receptions, 136 yards, and 136 yards and 3 touchdowns. So producing a lot, and I think he's the main target of that team. So he's gonna get an heavy workload, and his name is gonna be known in FPF if he keeps it up like this. But definitely a player to watch this season.
For sure.
Moving on now, Jerome, let's go to co-ed 1, the smaller co-ed division, but still very interesting. We have a big matchup coming this Sunday. Kiss My End Zone against Fit Squad. I circled this matchup not only because they are the two top teams, but also I think, to me, that's the two teams that have the best chance to win in that division. Um, do you think that the winner of that game establishes themselves as the true favorite? Because if Fit Squad beats Kiss My End Zone, that's not an upset, but that's a huge win for them, and that sets them up great. If Kiss My End Zone beats Fit Squad, they just continue in their dominance. So I wonder, do you think that that matchup could tell us who's the best team in Coed One?
Yeah, and I think it's going to tell us way more about Kiss My End Zone than it is going to tell us about Fit Squad. I think we know what Fit Squad is.
Yep.
They're a favorite. They're a contender for that title. We also know that Kiss My End Zone is that, but we don't know to what extent. Like, is there a huge gap between Kiss My End Zone and the other teams in this division? And Fit Squad is going to be able to tell us, like, okay, this season is not over yet. Kiss My End Zone may be the favorite, but we're not going to go down easy. And I think this is the first stepping stone for them to really put their foot on the current standing situation in this division.
Yeah, definitely. And that game could be a very big confidence booster for Fit Squad. Also, knowing that they can beat the top team, even though Kiss My End Zone, like we spoke last week, is not the same team. Still got the couple key pieces, but big change at quarterback. Gonna be interesting to see how Jimmy Lee Janvier plays against a good Fit Squad defense. I almost say great, but the thing is with Fit Squad, they only played in lower co-ed division, so co-ed 2 and under. So I'm not quite sure how they fare up in the higher division, but this year, this fall season, co-ed 1 is a little bit different than it is in spring and winter. So I think it's their time
Yeah,
to be at the top to win a championship.
yeah. But I think Fit Squad is going to differentiate themselves with their female players this season.
Yes.
Going through this roster, I mean, Tamara Boulanger, Lauriane Beauchamp, Célestine Chartier, Alexis Garneau, like we're looking at like these top tier female players, and they won their first game without starting quarterback William Bois under center. So that tells me that this roster is good, and they're just going to hit another level with Bois back at quarterback
Yeah,
for the rest of the season.
definitely. But they had David Michaud throwing, who's also a quarterback, so they have that buffer if
Yeah,
they need to. Also to drop that double QB, that's very interesting for them. Also very nice to see that they can rally up behind David and still win their first game without their original quarterback. But like you said, once their real quarterback comes back, this is a team that's very scary,
yeah,
and hopefully they get to have him next Sunday against Kiss My End Zone on the 29th.
yeah.
So when I look at the female players in co-ed 1, is there defensively, is there a female player that stands out to you that you think is a game changer defensively in co-ed 1?
Yeah. Chantel Chippy Brown is the player I'm looking at, and it's great that Kiss My Hands on have her on their team because she brings that grit. She's a dog on the football field.
Yep.
She brings that physicality that sometimes like female players can lack a bit, especially when it's male against female players. But she's the type of player I wouldn't be worried if she was covering one-on-one. If we have to go in men, she's covering like a great receiver on the opposing team. I think she's going to be the difference maker for Kiss My End Zone defensively. And yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what she can do this season.
No, I like it. I'm gonna bring a rusher into the discussion. Morgane Le Foll, having 2 sacks in 3 games, very good, and 1 pass defended. I think that the rusher position is very important, especially if we face more running QBs. I know it's not co-ed tier 2, but co-ed tier 1 can still have some running QBs. We know that definitely there are some. So Morgane is gonna have a big impact on our team for Aigre-Doux, and already racking up 2 sacks is very good. So I'll keep an eye on her, and I think she can definitely make her mark as a great rusher in that division in the league.
Absolutely.
Got to give love to the rusher, man.
Of course.
they're always forgotten
Forgotten.
about. I know, and it's like, to me, it's the most important position on defense. So having a good rusher, and
Yeah.
if you put a female rusher that gives you a male player on coverage more, so you can get a balance there and try to take advantage of that, because most of the QBs in co-ed 1 are male QBs. So that gives you a nice advantage if you have a female that can rush and rush effectively like she does.
It's also the matchups that are created.
Yep.
You can be more aggressive defensively when you have a great female rusher. And I think that's what Aigre-Doux is going to try to do. And I think it's going to be a great strategy moving forward.
No, definitely. And she has Tam guiding her. So you can rely on him as an amazing player and a guy with a lot of experience. So he's going to...
Great teacher.
Yeah, exactly.
Coach.
Great coach, great teacher. So she can definitely lean on him to get some advice. And I think Aigre-Doux is going to have a good season, but it's going to be difficult for sure. But that defense and that rusher position from Morgane is very important, I think, for that team.
Absolutely.
So Jerome, now that we are done with co-ed tier 1, let's move on to the 5v5 divisions and look at the recreational division in 5v5. Um, so I'm looking at last week we talked about blue ballers and how this team you thought maybe they were too good for the division, having especially
Hmm.
when you look at the players, AJ Gomes. Um, I think they have. Let's just go over it once more just to remind us. AJ Gomes, Bekim Borova, Joey Notaro, Jimmy Manaris, probably also one of the fastest players in FBF.
Yeah.
Marvin Steinberg that hasn't played a game yet, coming back from an injury. So look forward to seeing him out there because that's also a game changer. So yes, enough talking about them. I want to talk about Ambush and that
Yeah.
team with Benjamin McMahon at quarterback. To me,
McMahon?
McMahon to me it's the best the best QB in the recreational 5v5 division. So do you think
Over
that they can?
AJ?
Yeah, because AJ is not a
I think so
QB.
too. I think so too.
AJ's
He's good. He's good, but Ben, how is Ben allowed to throw in 5v5 recreational?
that's
That's interesting.
that's what I wonder.
To me, I mean, I wouldn't allow it, but look, the rules are the rules are set. I don't have a single say in this, so um, yeah, Ben, a lot of pressure on you, a lot of expectations. You better win a championship with this team.
Yeah, and you can count on players that he played with a lot throughout the years. You got Philip Roberts, Anthony Drysdale, and Owen Brzezowski. Very good
Owen,
players. Yeah, Owen
yeah,
is getting better and better, and having him on the team is really big because I think Ben is having a good chemistry, building a great chemistry with him on those post routes, those post corners, and we know that the 5v5 game is different. The windows are tighter, but I think that having Ben, an experienced quarterback, is very good because he knows how to thread the needle. He has a great arm. He knows the game. Maybe a little bit of an adjustment on that 5v5 field, but still, having him is huge. And also having Anthony Drysdale defensively, I think is huge for that team because he's a baller. He's everywhere on the field. So that team to me is gonna have success. Are they those games against Blue Bar is gonna be fun, definitely.
yeah.
And
Only one though,
yeah,
only
only
one in the regular season.
yeah,
But they'll definitely meet again in the playoffs. I'm sure of it.
that's it. And
But yeah, to me, I think we have to look at Owen Bajarski as like the most promising up and coming player in FPF.
yep,
And he's a player that comes from a basketball background. So he had to learn the game. A lot of basketball players succeed well in flag. It requires similar skills, but Owen has really improved and he seems to be really committed to getting better. And you can't teach athleticism, and that guy is one of the most athletic in all of FPF. I think he has a very bright future in front of him, and yeah, look out for him going forward.
yeah, man. In one game, 8 reception for 115 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's very good. So we can see that definitely him and Ben are clicking, and they're gonna keep on that wave throughout the season. I think there's gonna be better and better. So very promising for Ambush in the recreational division. But moving on, I wanted to preview a matchup between Drawing Dead and who do we got? No,
Trailer Park Boys.
Trailer Park Boys. Yeah. So
Yeah.
okay, so they already played, and Trailer Park Boys won comfortably, 35-6. What do you think about that Drawing Dead team? And what do you think their season is going to look like? Losing to Trailer Park Boys in their first game. Uh, Trailer Park Boys, we know, is a team from lower divs. They're experienced, but haven't really played those higher divs. But now in recreational 5v5, they're trying a new format and think they're going to do well. But that first game for Drawing Dead was a bit disappointing, only scoring 6 points.
Yeah, and of course um, it's hard to start playing flag football. Like we know that new teams often struggle, and none of these players have ever played FPF. I don't know if they played flag football elsewhere, but they haven't played FPF, and they don't seem to have yet found the quarterback. Sam Perez threw the most passes with 6, but only 1 completion. It was a 45-yard touchdown to Rami Shahid, but 0 for 5 on the other 5 passes, 2 interceptions. It's going to be an adjustment. And for a team like Trailer Park Boys, who have played before, have a lot of athleticism on their team, have a lot of potential, very solid quarterback in Antoine Meunier. Obviously, I think it's going to be another tough game for Drawing Dead, and I wouldn't be surprised if they don't win a single game this season. But they're new, and what we want to see from new teams is not necessarily getting those wins, but getting those progression from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. And I think there's something there. There's athleticism. There are talented players, I'm sure, on Drawing Dead. Maybe just going to need to understand the game, and 5v5 is harder. We've talked about it. It's harder to score. There's more yards to cover to get these first downs, these touchdowns. You have less downs. It would probably be better for them to play 6v6, then eventually move to the 5v5 format. But for this season, I think they're just going to have to, find somebody who's more comfortable at the QB position and just, go from there.
Yeah, I think you're right. And also for the guys on Drawing Dead, if you're listening to the podcast, don't be afraid to reach out to someone who has experience in flag. The FPF community is always there to help. So if you need any tips, any advice, just go ask, and people are always happy to help. I think you guys have accepted a good challenge, registering in the 5v5 recreational division, even though it's the weaker division. It's still got a good teams on there. We mentioned Ambush, we mentioned Blue Ballers, Bleu Dry, 7.1 also a very good team, just trying the 5v5 format for the first time. So like I said, yeah, just don't be afraid to go ask and talk with quarterbacks, people that have played the game more, and they're gonna give you tips. They're gonna share some of their playbooks. Start simple and build from there. But Drawing Dead, don't give up. It's only 1 game. You have 9 more games left. It's gonna be hard, but just enjoy the process, and we all got to start somewhere.
Have fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Have fun.
Most important.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're doing this to have fun, and I'm sure you guys will find things that work and whatnot, and we'll have a successful season.
Yeah, there you go. Regardless of the win-loss record.
Exactly.
So Jerome, now let's move on to the other 5v5 division, the competitive division, and
yeah,
we wanted to do something a little bit different with the 5v5 division, the ranking, offense, defense, and the compete level. So you brought that question.
Yeah.
What do you mean by compete level? What is it? Compete with Braves?
That dog, man. Like those teams that are just like they're bringing it. Like they've got the energy, they've got they want to win. Like that's the thing that I think is being a bit overlooked at times. Is like there are teams that are really passionate, and usually those teams end up doing well. And so I think it's maybe not the right word, maybe more the intangibles with each of these teams.
Okay, so let's get right into it. I'm not gonna do for every score for every team, but I'm just gonna shoot you some question, and you can go on your end.
For sure.
So let's go with the Mangoose defense out of 100.
Yeah, I'll go with 86, and it would have been lower if Vincent Axel was not on this team. And for fear of repeating myself, this guy is insane. Look, he's gonna make this defense good just by himself, and we saw that in week 1. Week 2, I mean, sorry, versus Poseidon Kiss, he picked off Rocco Cristiano 3 times. I think the rest of the players are good defensively. Obviously, Thomas Couture is gonna have that impact as a rusher. Olivier Souris, Gabriel Drapos-Goralski, who is a very underrated player in FPF,
Yep.
not being mentioned a lot, but very physical. He'll get in your face. He'll prevent you from running your routes. He'll ruin your timing with your quarterback. So yeah, I think 86, 87 is where what I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, I agree. Just when we look at their players, like you mentioned Vincent, you mentioned Gabriel, Thomas Couture, one of the best rushers in the league, Olivier Souris, also an amazing defensive player, defensive mind, who's all over the field. They're going to be good on defense. I'll give them like you something like 85, 84, right around there. Because even if we look at their first game, like they played Braves, only allowed 28 points. They scored zero, but Braves scoring at such a high clip, and their offense is so good. Scoring, they only scored 28. Still a lot of points, but that Mango's defense was able to get maybe one or two stops in that game. Um, got a question.
Yeah,
The next one.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
Kangaroos.
Let's go.
Kangaroos. The compete level of Kangaroos.
99, man.
Yes.
I love this squad. I love it. Like we've talked about it. Like this roster is just amazing. I think Dan Lazaro has done a fantastic job at building this roster. Dan has got that aura as a quarterback.
Yeah.
He's just gonna dice you up. He's gonna throw that deep ball. He's not gonna be afraid to throw those 40-yard bombs, hit those huge touchdowns. Like just stretch the field, put the pressure on the defenses, and looking at these roster players, man, like JC Alexis, Félix Goutet, Serge Pilon Jr., AJ Gomes, Quincy Guillermo, even Jesse Dupuis is a very solid player, bit of a kind of like a utility player. Like he'll drop back, throw a couple passes. He'll do a fantastic job defensively as he always does. He'll be reliable offensively. Won't drop passes. I think this squad is just beautiful, man. Just beautiful.
Yeah, man, you got to give them that 99 complete level
Oh
because
yeah,
they're gonna be hungry and they got that target on the Braves. Definitely, they wanna beat them.
I forgot. Raf Morelli.
Hey, come
Raf
on,
Morelli,
man.
man. Raf Morelli, man. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna say anything more. Raf Morelli. That's it.
Yes, yes, and they have a good game coming up on Monday, September 23rd against the Jamesons that haven't started their season very well. What do you would give that Jameson offense out of 100?
Look, man, it's week to week, huh?
Yeah,
one week it'll be like 25. The other it'll be 100. You know, it's gonna depend on Jeff Rosenblatt. Can he find that consistency from game to game? Right now, I'll give it a 75. Just because I'm not sure. I'm not sure how Jeff is going to go moving forward. I know the finals last season probably had a big impact on his confidence. There was a rough stretch, but look, there's so much talent on this team, starting with Mr. Manu Aloroy, who I think should have a bigger role in that offense. Get you those contested catches. I think that's what Jeff should be doing more. But also the return of Anthony Brisebois.
yep,
I'm not sure how healthy he is so far. Maybe you could
yeah.
expand more on that.
Brisebois looking good. He's back from the national the World Championships in Sweden. But yeah, Brisebois looking good. Maybe just get that chemistry with Jeff back. But
Yeah.
I think when we look just straight at the names, like it's 80 plus as a rating, but that first game against Braves was very very disappointing, only scoring 12 points and giving up many turnovers. So hopefully we can bounce back from this one. Great game against Kangaroos coming up next Monday.
Yeah. So two hard matches to start the season. So
Yeah,
Even if they lose if you guys lose the following one, I mean, the schedule gets a bit easier going forward, and I think I'm not worried. I'm not worried at
we
all.
don't have to play Braves until the last week of the season, so we're chilling.
First and last.
Yeah,
Like you
exactly.
gotta
Just
prepare. Like you gotta know. Like final game of the season. Like you gotta get your revenge. Like show that we're legit. Week one doesn't matter.
yeah, no, I agree with you. Just gotta get past this one and move on. But let's just wrap up with maybe a another one. I give you Poseidon's Kiss. Once again, Poseidon's Kiss offense. What do you think about it? What's your
Uh,
score?
it's hard to say. The only thing that makes me want to go a bit higher than what the stats and the results have shown me is Rocco Cristiano hasn't thrown 5v5 before. He just hasn't.
No.
And we know how some, like we've talked about it last week, it takes a while, but the pieces are there. I mean, Owen Bajarski, we talked about him earlier. Darius Lattimore, not a player we've seen much in FPF, but look, that guy plays, I believe, plays for McGill. Uh, look, the athleticism is insane on that team. Owen Bajarski, Darius Lattimore, Jalen Graves, McCary Barrett, and Joey Nataro, who we can't forget. Also, um, look, I think he has to rely more on Devin Daou as a snapper. I think that's really going to help him. But look, the offense, the pieces are there. The quarterback is there. I just think it's going to take a little bit more time. So right now, I'll put him at a 75, but there's potential to go to all the way up to 90, in my opinion.
Definitely, and we talked about it a little bit last week, but that game against the second game against Kangaroos, putting up 39 points, something that they can build on definitely moving
Yeah.
forward. All right, Jerome, let's move on from the 5v5 division and jump right in the men's tier three division. So you had
Moving
a
to tier
great.
three. So you're skipping tier four?
Yeah, we're gonna come back for tier four, guys.
We'll come back. Okay.
Don't you worry, guys. We're back.
I'm not going to
Um,
forget you.
no. Um, so in tier three, got a couple quarterbacks that are struggling right now. You yourself took the challenge to
Yeah.
be a quarterback this season with West Island Boys. Do you think that for these quarterbacks that are struggling, what could they focus on? What are the key things that they can implement to help their game and help their team also win more games?
Yeah. For me personally, from the experience I've had so far, I can only talk from my experience, but it's hard. It's a lot to take in initially. It's really confusing at first. And I think you have to depend on your players. Like, for me, what I'm going to be looking to do moving forward is not pushing the ball downfield as much, but just letting my players catch the ball and run. Break some tackles, get those first downs, move the chains. Um, I think when you start as a new quarterback, you want to put up those high numbers, like uh, throw those deep passes, those wonderful balls downfield to your receivers. But it takes time, and you have to play with the defenses. And I think that's the biggest part, the hardest part when starting the quarterback position is understanding what the defense in front of you is showing you.
Yeah.
And for me, I think you really have to, like before the snap, sometimes I would just rush, just snap the ball, let's go, let's go. But just make sure you analyze, understand what defense is doing, find the tendencies. And at every level of football, it's the same thing. You have to identify tendencies. And I think that's something that, be patient, take what the defense gives you is basically the advice I would give everybody and myself.
Yeah, I agree. And like we both aren't like just natural QBs. So just by from a receiver perspective, I agree with what you say. Give the ball to your playmakers, let them make the plays, let them gain the yards after catch. Because if you have a player that's very shifty, you don't need to throw him the ball 40 yards downfield. You can just give him a quick out and let him do his magic. So that's something that I totally agree with you. Also, something good for QBs is to not necessarily look at the rusher. When I talk to great quarterbacks that play high level, they always tell me that the rusher is not very like they don't think about him. They just focus on their read,
Right.
focus on the defense, and sometimes me personally, when I tried to play quarterback, I was just too focused on the rusher, trying to evade him and trying to make a play after. But that's what the rusher wants. He wants you to focus on him and not on the play. Because as a rusher, if I'm able to just disrupt the QB and make him throw a bad pass, that's a win for me. Even though I get 0 sacks
Yeah.
in the game, if I'm able to just be in his head and make him double think his reads, that's a win for me as a rusher. So I think for the quarterbacks, just take away your eyes from the rusher, look more downfield. I know it's difficult because the rushers coming in fast, and tier three has a lot of great defensive players. We're going to talk about it
Yes.
after, but that's the key thing I would say to QBs who are struggling a little bit more. Just try to forget about the rusher, go through your reads, and if you have that timing to get rid of the ball right when the rusher comes, that's when you're the like I think QBs are the most successful is and they also frustrate other defenses in the rusher. Also, rusher is gonna say, man, every time I come to deflag him, he just throws it. That takes a hit on your defense, and defense can tend to like play a little bit softer just because they think, okay, rusher's gonna get there, but no, every time the quarterback is able to release it before. So that would be my take on that. But I
Get it out
I
quick, basically.
yeah, exactly. Like, a little bit like you said, give the ball to your to and as you get more experience now, you can implement those different plays, those longer plays, maybe roll out. But I think every quarterback has to see what works for them, but
Yeah.
also implement those concepts that worked for the quarterback that the quarterbacks and the teams that won previously in the league. But yeah, I touched a little bit on the defense. We're looking at this defense seemed to be very dominant this season in tier three. A lot of low scoring games. Do you think that there's a team which that the defense can overcome maybe the offense that doesn't have that firepower? Do you think that the defense can bring a team success even though the offense is lacking a little bit? Do you think there's a team in tier three?
I think our multiple teams. One I'd like to highlight
Yep.
is Trap Stars,
Yes.
and it's not a knock on Ryan Garber specifically because he's a solid quarterback, but he can have those games where he struggles and um, maybe sometimes like he'll get in his own head. But look, the defense is just really solid. It's always been very solid for Trap Stars. Um, the return of Cooper Young, we talked about it last week.
Yes.
Uh, Ryan's brother, I believe, Dylan. Obviously one of the best players, even in the higher divisions.
Yep.
Playing in that tier three can be a game changer for this team defensively. One interception and one PD um, last week. Jonathan Steinberg also a
Yes.
bit of a more of a defensive player. I think we're gonna see something very interesting from him this season. He's more of a rusher usually. Didn't get a sack in the game one, but he's had those eye numbers of sacks throughout the season. Especially with these struggling quarterbacks that he's going to be facing, he's going to get the opportunity to get a lot of sacks and be a huge disruptor for this Trap Stars defense. Do you have another team that you're looking at? Yeah, this defense is.
Well, I I want to say Goose just because
Mm,
it's been hard for them to score a lot in those past few seasons. I mean, first game, 31 points, 0 points against, very good. But they're gonna play against those defense like Petit Junior in their next game. Penetrators, West Island boys. They have a tough schedule coming up.
Yeah.
So I think that their defense is going to be very, very key to get those stops and to give the ball to their quarterback, Félix Antoine Lavigne. But that defense is very, very, very good. I think that Charles Fontaine is a player that's gonna stand out for that Mangoose team. Simon Duperron also very, very a player that's improved a lot through these past seasons and is a very tall guy, so he takes a lot of space on the field, gets his hands on balls, and most of the time I think he plays that safety position. He's getting more comfortable there. So I think that the Mangoose defense can definitely bring their team to a good success. Just gonna depend on how Félix Antoine plays as at QB. He has those games where it's a little bit tougher to score, but he has also those games where it's clicking. So I think he on those games where he's producing less, he's gonna have to lean on that defense, and that defense is gonna have to step up against those teams like Petit Junior and Penetrators down the road. And Win Diesel, they're gonna play Win Diesel, so also that's a very big
Huge
challenge
matchup.
for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Jerome. Moving on now. Let's go to tier 4. We haven't forgot about you guys. We're just trying to switch things up. So let's go into tier 4 right now. Jerome, in that big tier 4.
Yeah.
What do you think? Because in that big division, a lot of players. Is there a stat line for that you got to reach for that award? It could be that best receiver, best QB. Let's go with best receiver. Is there a stat line you have to aim to to get yourself away from the pack of receivers to show that you're the best?
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm not sure if we talked about it last week, but there are some insanely talented receivers that I'm not sure should be playing in tier 4. I'm looking at you, AJ Zepatelli. Why are you playing tier 4? Man, Joe Morgazy as well.
Yes.
Andrew Steinberg, 180 yards, 5 touchdowns in week 1. Look, and even Andrew Protois, who is a new player with 255 yards, 7 touchdowns. Look, I think we're looking at nearly 900 yards and 25 touchdowns. It's crazy.
No, it's Andrew
Like, look at
is.
these performances, man.
No,
Look at
I
these
know.
performances. And Jean-Junior Sylvain, 128 yards, 4 touchdowns, 9 for 9. It's ridiculous. And it's many, many different players. This is going to be a huge battle. Huge.
Yeah, and I think that there's even some guys that aren't at the top right now that they're gonna climb up the rankings as the season goes on. But I'm looking at this quickly, and yeah, Joe Morgese is gonna have a good season with Pastor Rabiat. We know that's his team, and he's gonna be the main target. Mathieu Hood from Les Studs returning to Les Studs after their unfortunate loss in the spring Div D finals. They brought him back. He's a very good player. Also, that can have a big impact. Already showed it in his first 2 games. 10 receptions on 10 targets and 4 touchdowns. But yeah, and Andrew Poitras with 7 TDs already. Man, can he aim for that 25 plus TDs this season? Maybe even reach that 30. That's gonna lock him this award for sure, huh?
We might see it. Like, I think it's been a while since we've seen 30 touchdowns in FPF, and I think tier 4 we're going to see somebody get it. 1,000 yards, 30 touchdowns. That would be insane. I'm not sure what the record is for most touchdowns in a season. Probably a long record from a long time ago, but look, these offenses are rolling in tier 4. These receivers are getting so many yards, so many touchdowns. I'm interested to see the race going forward.
Yeah, and let's segue right into the next question I have for you. It's Andrew Poitras playing on the Flagouilleur. Even though they have the best receiver so far, stat wise, and the best quarterback, they're 0-3 right now. They haven't been able to win those games, even though they are scoring good. They are clicking well. Do you think that team can can turn their season around? Starting 0-3 is tough. A lot of games left. Could finish 7-3. Could finish 6-4. Do you see them bouncing back in this season?
This has to be the unluckiest team of all time. Losing by 1, 5
Yeah,
and 1, 46-45. That's a heartbreaker, man.
it really is.
Look, you already got to look at this team like, yeah, this team is legit. I mean, Gab Wiseman, Luca Kenville. I don't know much of the other players, but Jeremy Chartrand I've heard of, and Andrew Poitras, who is coming a bit out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I don't believe he's ever played FPF. Great. If you'd like to show us this picture, please.
Yes, of course.
It's insane. Please show us this picture. Please.
That's a nice picture, Andrew.
I like the haircut.
Yeah, he's got the face of the leading receiver.
Yeah, he looks like a guy who's determined to go win that award.
Yeah.
Look, I'm looking at Les Flaques d'Or. I think like if this team ends up winning the season after going 0-3, I wouldn't be surprised. Would you?
No, definitely not, because their first games, they only got a plus minus of -7. So they're losing close games, man. And
Yeah.
they're scoring well. And the quarterback is not playing bad games. Like he's I don't know, like
He's good.
we'd have to see those games, but he didn't throw an interception in their last loss against Yule, and they still lost. So maybe a defensive problem there. Maybe gonna have to tighten up that defense. It's good to score a lot, but if you can't stop the other team, it's tough, man. You need to
Yeah.
maybe slow the game down. Think a little bit more about the possessions. Think about the time left on the clock, how many plays you have left, because that's also a big part of the FPF game. Maybe less in the lower divs, but if you can implement it the earliest you can, you become a very dangerous team, because you know how much time you need to go score, how much time you want to leave the other team, how much plays you want to leave the other team. Very, very important. So maybe the game management from Les Flaques d'Or hasn't been the best. Hopefully they can build on that. But like you said, wouldn't be surprised they finish 7-3 and just go 7 wins in a row. But they've got some good challenges up ahead in their schedule. So gonna have to
One
keep an
thing
eye
I'd like to
on.
mention.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Before we move on, they're going for 1, and I think that's the biggest mistake they're making. And they're converting their ones at a great clip.
They are.
It's 5 XP1s through 3 games, which is really good. But I think this team is gonna have more success if they go for 2. I think they can get at least 1 or 2 2-pointers, and if they go for 2 in those games 1 and 3, they probably win those.
Yeah.
So it's a bit disappointing. I think they perhaps haven't learned how OP these 2-point converts are when you start getting them. But look, they make such a big difference, especially in the playoffs when it gets tight and you're playing teams that are just as good as you. You need those 2-point converts, and the regular season is when you work on them.
Yeah.
Because you're going to need them come playoff time.
No,
That would be my advice to them.
Totally agree with you, and it's great that you pointed out, because when I look at their first game, if we look there on the screen, they went for they had 3 converts, which were all 1 points. The other team had 2 converts that they succeeded, but they were 2 points. So there you have
Exactly.
it. You have the 1-point differential that probably cost them the game there. Not quite sure as to when these converts and these touchdowns took place, but still it adds up. It adds up to when you go towards the end of the game. You remember that 1-point convert, that 2-point convert that you should have went.
Why didn't we go for 2? Why didn't we go for 2?
So yeah, you're right. You're totally right. Try to go for 2 during the season. Get familiar with the distance, that 10 yards to the goal line to get that 2-point convert is very important as you go on. And if you're in those tight games, you're going to get in overtime, and in overtime we know what happens is a convert game. So if you go for 2 and you start, you put that pressure on the other team that they have to go for 2 and they have to convert it. So yeah, definitely something we have to watch for Flag We Are. If you guys are listening, go for two, man. Come on.
Let's go. Got to do it.
All right, Jerome. Let's segue now into tier one, and we're gonna finish with tier two after. But you brought a point
Caught
there.
me off guard there.
I'm sorry, but I'm just trying to
It's
switch it up for.
okay.
you,
I was getting
you
ready to talk about tier two. All right, let's
It's
just talk
okay.
about tier one,
We're gonna
I
be
guess.
back. We're gonna finish with the best division. No, I'm just kidding. But okay.
Oh, it is. It is, and we'll talk about it later. But let's do tier one now.
Yes. Is it time for Blessed to hit the panic button, starting 0-3? It's a team that
Hey
had
man,
success in the spring season. They won their playoff game against Run It Once. They were good, man. What's happening with Blessed this season?
look, I'm not going to hit the panic button just yet because when I was writing articles last season in spring, unfortunately, I hit the panic button for them, and I was completely wrong. I said this roster is not good. They're going to struggle, and they ended up turning their season around. And so I've learned my lesson. Don't underestimate Steven Arpasad. He's going to figure out ways to win, and he might struggle early on, but he's going to find his rhythm throughout the season. He's a rhythm quarterback. He
Yeah.
needs to, get a lot of reps, like get the confidence in his players, get the confidence in himself as well. And look, I'm not hitting the panic button. They lost 49-20 to KGP. Steven Nervasol wasn't there, so for me, we're not taking this into consideration. What I'm looking at is they lost by 3 to Vengeance. They lost by 3 to
Man.
Kevin White. Look, week one, we can almost always throw week one out of the window. Uh, week one almost never matters at the end of the season. Everybody's rusty, just whatever can happen. But man, losing by only 3 to Kevin Wyeth, Steven Arpasad outplaying Kevin Wyeth, in my opinion. Look, it's going to be those once again those converts, and we talked about it for tier 4, but even at this level, like you see like Nair Wyeth, their ability to score on those converts at an insanely high clip is what makes them the best quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And for Arpasad, he doesn't have the greatest arm strength, so he needs to find himself in position to drop these second quarterbacks. But he already does it. He does it all the time. Every single 2-point convert, there's a drop back. But look, get some creativity. Like that's something that we started implementing on our own teams. You're dropping 3 quarterbacks, and you're telling your receivers to just read the field and getting open, and it's been working.
Yeah.
And to me, that's something that I would recommend to every other team to try it out. And yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about Bless yet. I'm not hitting the panic button. There's a lot of talent on this team. I trust Stephen Prasad. So look, it's the regular season, the beginning of the season. We'll talk about it again like week 7, week 8. Maybe then we'll hit the panic button.
Yeah, and I think we can note that Steve hasn't had his 2 of his biggest weapons, players that played with him the longest. You have William Power and Marvin Steinberg haven't played a game yet, so having them back in the squad could be very, very important for them, especially when we talk about those 2-point converts. Having William Power drop as a second quarterback is very, very dangerous for the other teams, and they can definitely improve there. But yeah, I agree with you. It's a team that like you said, Steve is a rhythm quarterback, so just needs maybe that one game to get back on track, and yeah, just keep it up. And I think that James Langshaw has to have a big role on that team. He has to get the ball in his hands. He's a very talented player, and he's got to get more touches because he's a quarterback that fits well the style of Steve Arpasad. Plays with William Power, so when you bring William Power back, can have that connection there for those 2 points. I think that he needs to have a little bit of a bigger role on that team. He's going to be a game changer definitely for Blessed. And
Yeah,
just to
and
wrap up,
guys show up.
yes, exactly, because guys are not always there. Already they have a lot of players on the roster. I don't think that's the full roster. Maybe some subs coming in and subbing for them. But yeah, you're right. Guys got to show up. And now just to wrap up tier one, where do you see EZW finishing this season?
Look, I was surprised to see ECW signing up in Tier 1. Not that they're not a Tier 1 team, but we perhaps initially thought that they were going to be playing in the 5v5 format.
Yeah.
Decided to play Tier 1 at the end of the day. And after, winning the Division 3 championship, losing the finals in the Division B championship game in spring, it was time. It was time for Jeremy White to take that jump. It hasn't gone amazing. I saw the KGP game. I'm not sure if I talked about it last week, but
Yeah.
Once again, a game that we can just throw away in the garbage. And actually, we can also throw game 2 in the garbage bin because Jeremy White wasn't there, and still Laving was throwing. So, look, I don't know, man. I don't know where these guys fit at this point. Right now, I'd say they're probably 500 team. But look, it depends on a lot of things.
I think that they can finish like in the it's tough to say. On 7 teams, I see them but either 4 or 5 at the end
Okay,
of the
let
day.
me ask you this. Run It Once or EZW?
Well, I can't answer
It's our
that.
team. Skip it. Okay. We'll go with those teams that are 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah,
KGP or EZW?
I gotta go with KGP just because they experience. But
DZOD team or EZW?
I'll go with EZW there. And
Okay.
the shocker, I think I'll go with them over Bless too. Because
Wow.
Bless guys need to
No,
show
I'm not
up.
ready for that.
The guys need to show up. As when they started 0-3, EZW, if they have their full squad and Bless doesn't have all their players, I gotta take EZW there. But on a equally matched game, that's a tough one, man. I don't know. I really don't know.
Oh,
We'll have to see.
it's it's not a game ex- I was necessarily expecting, but it's nice that we're getting them now because we talk a lot about like, oh, can these teams move up the divisions? And ECW is taking that jump,
Yeah.
and they're going to be facing those teams like that. We're asking ourselves maybe, oh, is ECW like would they beat this tier 1 team? Well, we're going to get to see it now. So to me, that's the team I'm going to be watching the most in tier 1. Like see how maybe what's the gap between that highest tier division and the one just below.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna be the standard team to be watching out for this season.
Yeah, I agree. And they've been used to being in the finals these past few
Oh
seasons,
yeah,
so they're
they
hungry
know
to
how to
be there.
win.
And Jeremy White, as when the big moment is on the line, he shows up, man, and he balls out. So
He's
think
that guy.
he's
He's a
that
dog.
guy. Yeah, he's a dog certified. So
Yes,
Jerome,
sir.
let's finish up the show with tier 2. And looking at tier 2, we have a couple teams that moved from, like, if we look at it, Div C could be a little bit lower than tier 2 in terms of competition, or let's say teams that jumped from Div 2 and under in tier 2. Uh, which team you think can seamlessly just go right into tier 2 and have success, and which team do you see having a little bit less success, having some struggles during the seasons? I think we can look at a team like
Yeah.
Jagerbomb, for example.
Well, we can go through all of them a bit quickly.
Yeah.
Idaho Utapimps, our team. We've made a lot of additions. I think this is going to be a seamless transition, and it has been so far to 2 games. It was Gilles Regimbal who was throwing.
Yeah.
But Brady Oweneshin, I mean, he showed it last season that he's really he's ready to be making that jump. And look, he's got the weapons. We worked hard in the offseason to secure those players. Andrew Grant, Jeremy Rooney, Sam Anastasopoulos, Alex Silipsky. This is a much better edition of Idaho UWPimps than it was in Division C.
Yep.
Next up, I mean Fins Up,
Yeah.
which look, is it really a step up? Because we've already seen William Power throw in Division B and he won a championship. So
Yes.
is there really a question here? Are we
No,
arguing that this is not going to be a seamless transition?
we're
You're
not. We're
not.
not.
No. Marcus Lynch. He hasn't played yet, but I'm excited to see it.
Yeah,
William Power to
definitely.
Marcus Lynch. It's
Yeah.
gonna be cool. So if the next one, let's talk about Jagerbomb.
Yeah, Jägerbomb. Yeah, for me, I think it maybe is going to be a little bit more difficult for Jagerbomb this season. Last season they were really successful. Lost to Idaho U the Pimps in the was it a semifinal game or
Was it
quarterfinals?
the semis? It was the semis.
Yeah, so tough loss there
Tight game
to
though.
yeah, tough loss to the champions of Division C. But Jagerbomb maybe is gonna have a little bit more trouble this season. They still got a great squad with Simon Duchesne at quarterback, Jean-Félix Dalloz, Félix Fontaine-Larouche, Laurent Foucault.
Hmm.
I mean, they got some great players. They lost their game against Kismail, lost 30-47. Won convincingly against backfield penetration. But I'm looking at their remaining schedule. It may be tough for them to be over 500, in my opinion. So I
Yeah.
think the transition is going to be harder for that team.
It's one of the lowest capped teams in Tier
Yeah,
2 as well. They don't have a single player rated above 80 overall. Some of these teams have like 6 or 7.
yeah,
Look, it's just perhaps a lack of experience for this team. And it's something that happens when, these teams are not changing their rosters. We've seen Idaho UWPimps. They're moving up divisions. They're switching up their rosters. There's a lot of turnover. There's no turnover on Jagerbomb. It's the same exact team that showed up in Division C. So, look, of course, we're gonna have to monitor this. I trust Simon Duchesne a lot. I think he's one of the best QBs in this division, and I think he's going to carry this team far. I just have a little bit of worry about the defensive part of this team.
yeah. Defensively, they may have some struggles, but even though they don't have like the flashy players, they're a team that know the flag football game. They're like you said, it's a team that they didn't change the roster much, and they haven't changed the roster for the past few years. So they're guys that play well together. They have a great chemistry. So that they are gonna have to lean on that to beat those teams with those stars, like we talked, those fins up teams with Marcus Lynch and others. So yeah, but beating backfield penetration is good. But then you have that game against Vultures coming up. That game's against Fins Up. I'm eyeing those games definitely
Mm-hmm.
for Jagerbomb to see how they fare out against those teams. But yeah, maybe just to wrap up, talk a little bit about Never Overtime. I don't think we've talked about them, but that's also a team coming from Division C, and I think they're gonna have some trouble this season, just
Yeah,
because Tier Two
yeah.
is stronger than Division C, and losing 47-19 in their first game against Shake and Bake, that's tough. But that's only the first game. They got a matchup against Commission coming up. That's a game that they can definitely win. But after
Same
that,
thing for
man,
commission, I think.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's a
it's
50-50
these
game.
teams that they weren't dominant in Division C and they
No.
move up to Tier 2. It's going to be tough. And we're looking, it's the same thing for Rico Riders.
Yep.
So, like, those three teams are the ones who are going to be the most interesting to look at. Like, are they ready to make that jump? Was a bit, the cap situation kind of forced them to go to
Yep.
that Tier 2. So, look, we'll monitor that. Also, back to penetration. Look, this team's already always going to be good. I expect this team to finish maybe 5-5, maybe 6-4. It's going to be an average team, but come playoff time, Alexandre Barazoni always clutches up. So
Yep.
by the time, we don't know. But to wrap it up, to wrap the whole show up, I wanted to talk about this one team, Shake and Bake. That's
Yes.
that's 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 the one, like the question when I wrote it, that's the team I was looking at.
Yes.
Wow.
Division
They're
D
coming
team.
from Div D.
Yes.
Exactly.
They won Div D.
They did. But Div D, it's a huge jump.
It's a huge jump. But their quarterback is ready. I mean, Marc-André Reeves, it's not he was not a Div D quarterback.
Wow.
So
Came out of nowhere, but oh my God.
yeah, Marc-André is having an amazing season so far. 11 TDs, 0 interceptions, 0 sacks, man. He's like playing for him as a receiver. You don't get discouraged because you're confident that your QB is not gonna like have big mistakes that can cost you the game. You know that he takes those right decisions, and I agree with you, man. Shake and bake, like two jumps of division. If we think about it, think they're gonna have some success this season. They're gonna have some challenges, but they're gonna have success. They played two teams that are a little bit weaker, but still won convincingly both times.
Look, as soon as 8 o'clock strikes, I will be looking to see if there's a score update for that Fins Up versus Shake and Bake game.
Yes.
I think that's a game that's really going to tell us a lot about Marc-André Reeves. It's not going to tell us much about Fins Up. We know who they are, but like it's happening for us. It's happening right now. It will have happened for the people watching this tomorrow. But man, great game.
Yeah, definitely. And Shake and Bake, we're gonna keep an eye on you guys. It's cool to see that. Yeah, you took the jump to tier 2. Pardon me. You could have went in tier 3. I think with the cap, definitely don't have so much like that many high-rated players, but gotta give it up to you guys, Marc-André Reeves and the whole squad, taking the challenge and playing in tier 2. And that's a team that's gonna surprise a lot this season.
Yep.
So Jerome, that wraps it up for episode 2 of Calling the Audible. It was fun talking to you. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show, and we'll be back next week with another breakdown, trying to add some different stuff to the podcast. So like I said last week, don't be afraid to come up to us and to give us your suggestions of what you would like to see in the show. But
did anyone text you?
Not yet.
Did anyone ask? Me neither. Come on, guys.
Guys,
come see us at the fields.
Exactly. Don't be shy. But that wraps it up for today. Thank you guys for listening, and thank you, Jerome, and thank you to our amazing producer, Omar. Big shout out to you, man.
Thank you, Manu. Thank you, Omar. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Yes, sir. Take care, guys.
Put the place up.